Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. Today we are talking lead magnets, and to walk us through it is web designer extraordinaire Lauren Pibworth. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you, Jane. I'm so happy to be here. It's awesome.
Tell everybody about your business and what you do and for who.
Absolutely. I have been running a speaker focused marketing agency for the last 15 years. I feel very old today. Uh, but yeah, I'm working exclusively with professional speakers to help them grow their audience and simply get on more stages and help decision makers say yes more often.
Nice, nice. So you've designed a lot of websites. People can go to see your work where? What is the URL?
Pibworthps.com and then just click on portfolio.
Okay, they can check
Yeah.
it out and see the websites that you've designed. Maybe they're thinking about redoing their website. They can give you a call. Maybe they just want to get some ideas. I think there are a lot of great sites in there. I've taken a look there myself. Let's talk about kind of just broadly. We're going to dive into lead magnets specifically. But what are some of the bigger things that you see maybe being missed or added unintentionally or something to websites? What are some of the mistakes that you might see?
I think my my biggest pet peeve is not having a way to contact the speaker.
And as a former Speakers Bureau agent, I can say that we are doing things quickly. When we want
Yes.
to book a speaker, we don't want to try to poke around. We don't want to fill out a long form, and we don't want to have to look all through your website to find it. So I think a good standard practice is the contact us button is the tab on the right hand side,
Yep.
or little name and email right above that is fine too. But also, don't have me fill out a long form. Put your name, your email address, and your phone number above the form. I'm okay to fill out the form, but I want it to be optional, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No mandatory fields other than name and email, obviously.
Yes. Okay. Let's make your form simple. If it's a 30 question form, I'm not going to spend my time going there because just think about it. The people who are making decisions want to do things relatively quickly. That's not your pet peeve or my pet peeve. It's everybody's
Yeah.
pet peeve who is working with speakers. So let's make sure we get that one crossed off very quickly. What else have you got for us?
I think simply not planning out the flow of the site. Here's all the things that I have, boom. And you're not thinking about the thought process of the decision maker as they work through your site. I mean, as we've already said, we've only got seconds to
Yeah.
capture their attention. So we've really got to think about what their needs are and answer those questions on the site first before they don't care about you until they care if you can solve the problem.
So rather than having a book so and so now button above the fold on the home page, hey, why don't we get to know each other a little bit first? Maybe I can find out more about you. Talk a little bit about the About Us page because I think people go to the About Us page pretty consistently, do they not?
Absolutely. And I wish we could change the name of the About Us page to the About My Ideal Customer page.
Oh, you want to make
Because,
that page about them and not you?
well, yeah, you want to make that page. Um, this is how I solve your problem because of who I am.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit because if I'm going to hire you, I do want to know what you've done
Yep,
in your background. And so I love the idea of starting it off with, the reason I solved this problem in my life is because, and then starting to go back through the history. I love that.
absolutely. I mean, I start almost all of my About Us pages with my number one testimonial and explain how I got it.
Hmm.
And I think that's like it's credibility. It talks about what you've done, how you've solved the issue. That's one of my favorite formulas.
Okay, cool. And maybe let's just touch on testimonials here for a second as well. Um, Short or long? And I have a question that can be asked to get to the heart of what we want. What do you think in terms of length of testimonials? Do they have to be 3 or 4 paragraphs long, or can they
Good
be
Lord, no.
2 sentences?
What I love to do is short, a sentence, maybe two. And if you've got really juicy content in there, a read more tag, and then have a testimonial page. If they're interested, they're going to go there, but they're not going to spend their time reading paragraphs.
Maybe you build it for the scan or somebody.
Yeah,
And so let's assume that everybody has You're a Good Speaker testimonials, and let's ask questions that are going to get you to the ROI, the return on investment testimonials, like what changed as a result of our work together.
exactly.
That and you could even ask that question when you're on your wrap up call with the client. Hopefully that's a part of your process that you're going to have a pretty soon after the engagement call, and really look at how things went and asking great questions. And if they tell you something that you think you could use, you could just say, hey, can I quote you on that? Then you write it back to them in an email, they approve it, and you have your testimonial without waiting for a long period of time. I love seeing, is it an above the fold thing to put logos of companies that you've worked for, Lauren? Like, where does that go on the homepage?
Well, to be honest, the fold is kind of a moving target now because we're looking at websites on so many different devices. So
Mhm.
what looks like above the fold on your desktop is not above the fold on your phone.
Okay.
I like it for credibility, but honestly, I don't put them above the fold unless there's a really good reason,
Okay.
right? If the people you've worked with are absolutely stellar and everybody's going to go, oh, wow, they were hired by Google. Well, then that goes there. But
Yeah.
general stuff, no. It's the real estate's too valuable.
I have a few clients that it's like Google, Facebook. I mean, it's Apple. It's the players of the players, and so I think maybe that's a that's good advice. And always thinking about how is this going to look on mobile, I think is just another. Okay, so the goal of this podcast is to have people thinking kind of more intentionally about everything website, and now we break it down to lead magnet. So, what are the top issues that speakers run into when they're creating their lead magnets?
Well, it's funny. It's also often the same issues that they're thinking about when they're doing their marketing in general, and that's a lack of planning.
Okay.
Um, it's just like, oh, I'm going to give this away. Great. And now what? Right? You've given away your great thing, and you have no follow up. I mean, it's follow up is everywhere, right?
Right.
So even with your lead magnet, planning out the problem, the solution, and then what seed you're going to do for the next problem, so that they then need to consume your next piece and ultimately hire you.
Okay. I love that. Okay, so I feel like lead magnets could be broken down into there's a lead magnet that we want on our website designed to grab people's names and email addresses. But also, when we're out speaking, we want to be able to use a QR code or something to give them something. And some people have different lead magnets for both. But it's okay to probably use the same one for both, because if you have something that you think your audiences are going to want, right, and the goal is that the lead magnet is something that they say, I must have that. let,
Yes,
let me give my, people really don't want to give over their email address for sign up for my newsletter. That's pretty outdated now, isn't it?
that is so dead.
Yeah.
That is so dead. And it's also a matter of finding the right offer.
Yeah.
So let me kind of give you an example. So if you have a signature keynote, a signature talk that you give all the time, a really good lead magnet would be something that absolutely relates to the content there that will lead them into something else, but something on your website that you're using specifically for lead gen, that can be a little bit more generic. So again, it's that thoughtful planning of what's the right offer, what's the right question, what is the problem I'm going to solve, and is it the problem? Am I solving the problem immediately, or do I need to kind of warm them up a little bit? Right? If your lead magnet is culture, do you have a good culture? Is not a good title
Mhm.
for a lead magnet.
Right.
The good title would be flowing into either the aspirational statement or the pain statement around their poor culture. They may simply know that gossip is going insane and they
Mhm.
want to fix it. They don't know that that's a culture problem. They're talking about the symptom.
Right, right, right. Okay, so you might drill down on one thing that really, and here's the thing about lead magnets. We test. We test, it works, it doesn't work, and we test again. Like, I mean, basically, and we're going back to the market with an older lead magnet that we used to use that was very effective, top 3 mistakes speakers make and how to avoid them. And we've refreshed it and updated it, and we'll try it and we'll see. It used to be very effective. Is it effective today? I don't know yet. We have to test it. And
And I love that you're repurposing it,
yes.
because that's really, really key. I have several quizzes that I've used over the years, and I have exactly the same quiz. I clone it and I change 2 or 3 words, and all of a sudden it's a custom quiz on this problem or that problem or that problem. Same quiz, just slightly different wording.
Nice, nice. And I do love a good quiz. We can talk about let's talk actually about the different types of lead magnets that we see a lot of. Okay, so it used to be back in the day, like a white paper was a great lead magnet. I don't know, maybe in the academic world and in intellectual people, white papers are still a hot commodity. I think it's going to come down to the topic of the white paper regardless, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if your clients are, they're consumers of information, and you are a subject matter expert in this particular thing, like for instance, Randall Craig.
Mm-hmm.
So Randall is a digital marketing strategist,
Right.
and he does white papers, and he does it extremely successfully. I
Okay.
don't know a lot of other speakers unless they are as content heavy as he is, whose audiences are likely to consume that.
Okay, interesting. So you could also do like some sort of video series.
Yep. And video series and mini membership sites are really hot right now.
Mini member.
Um, Yeah, so you come in and you get a little video series, and then that video series, the video series would be dripped to you, and then that's placed in a membership site, and you add things occasionally, but it drives people back to your website, and you don't have to keep um, creating a lot of content for that, but it's great for your SEO because people are visiting your site. It gives you a great reason to email them and say, hey, I've added something to the membership site, right? There's a value feeling to that.
You're getting more. You're getting more. And here it is. I love that. And you're actually getting my own wheels turning. So I'm thinking about we already have a little mini course, how do we expand on that? Um, okay, so we've had a white paper, we've got maybe some sort of video series, we've got a mini membership. We could have a free chapter of a book.
Mhm.
We'll give that away. Let's talk a little bit about quizzes. I love a quiz. Like, oh, so you were talking about the culture idea. How magnetic is your culture? Do people want to come and work? Are people clamoring to come and work for you? that might be something that people would be like, oh yeah, well, I don't think we're magnetic at all. Nobody. And so then they realize that they need you, the culture expert, is the goal from
Exactly.
quiz, right? That's
Exactly. And quizzes, they're, whether we call them quizzes or assessments or audits, they're
yeah,
the same thing. I mean, a B2B language is going to be an assessment or an audit.
yeah.
B2C language is probably going to be a quiz.
Love that. Love
So
that.
we can call it whatever we want.
And should quizzes or whatever we want to call them kept simple? I like 10 questions or less so that it doesn't take me personally too long to do the quiz. What about that? What's your kind of what are you seeing is a good length?
And again, it's going to depend on your audience and your outcome. So we don't start with the number of questions, we start with the outcome. What
Okay.
is it that we want them to get? So why don't we just talk about a couple client quizzes and go through that? So Sarah McVannell, who is, I know you guys know well, she has something on her website called the Workplace Culture Audit. It
Okay.
is 8 questions and they rate things in importance. And then at the end, they say, so looks like your top 2 issues are this and this. Let's book a call.
I love it.
One of the things I love about Sarah's quiz is we've actually built in a hot lead button. So at the very end, the last question is, how can I serve you? Do you just want the results? How about some free resources? Or are you looking to book a speaker? Anybody who click looking to hire a speaker or a consultant goes directly into her inbox, and there's an immediate response, so she can grab those leads. The other people, they're still being served, but they're going to get an email sequence rather than her attention.
I love that. A hot lead button. Perfect. So, is there another example of a different, like, that's an 8 question quiz? Love that. Is
Yeah.
there another example that you have that you want to share?
Why don't Shelley Rose Charvet, whose website is Words That Change Minds, she has something called Test Your Influence.
Ooh,
And that quiz that we built is really, it's probably 20 some odd questions. It's quite long, but it's asking, it is based on NLP. So those individuals understand that 6 questions is not going to give them their answer. They're waiting for a series of algorithms. And that quiz is actually built so that every single question that they answer delivers a custom result. So their result is about 6 pages long, but it's specific to them based on the answer. So again, listen to your audience. Your audience will tell you what they want.
that's really good. And I know Shelley and I know her audiences would be a better fit for that.
Yes,
More academic, more intellectual, and they would want like the white paper audiences kind of similar
yes.
too. So that makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's dive a little bit more into lead magnets. We've talked about um, mini memberships, we've talked about videos, we've talked about a couple of different kinds of quizzes. Once we have kind of a lead magnet started to develop, how do we leverage that? And this is where, we really need to talk about the back end, because I think a lot of people will develop something, they'll give it away, and there's one email, ta-da, here's your white paper, and then there's nothing else
Nothing else.
ever.
Just a big old bag of crickets. No, that's not, you need to nurture these people. I mean, branding and marketing, it's always multiple touches, right? So I actually have a 7 email sequence in most of my quizzes. And it's basically here's the general formula. So Now, email 1 is here's your thing.
Mhm.
Email 2 is just in case, and here's your thing, and don't unsubscribe because I've got something else I'm going to give you.
Okay.
Email 2 is don't forget to download your thing. Oh, and here's that thing that I promised.
Hmm.
Email 3 is a credibility email talking about you and how awesome you are.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm being very vague. Email 4 is talking about, hey, and there's a call to action on
Mhm.
each of these. That's really important because, and it's the same call to action.
Always the same call to action.
Always, always, always.
Email leads one where this email leads another place. It's always the same call to action. Would you say for most of your clients, it's like book a discovery call?
Yes.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, continue on your emails.
So email 4 is, hey, I know I've had issues, I've had trust issues too, or something like that. So an identification.
Relate to you. You relate
Yes.
to me.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Email 5, or sorry, I guess there's 6. So email 5 is, um, I'm, this is it. This is all I have for you. So, this is all I have for you. So we're going to have to move on from here. Um, and, but we are going to place you on our newsletter list. So you're getting, you have to get permission to put them in the newsletter list before they do the lead magnet. Before you do that, you can't just put them on, but let them know that this is the last email in the sequence.
Okay.
And then I actually send one more.
Okay.
So the one more is thank you so much. It's honoring the fact that they have opened the emails.
Mm.
Thank you for opening the emails. I really appreciate it. I do have a question though. You've obviously been interested in the content because you looked at them. What stopped you from booking a discovery call? How can I do better? Would you help me understand?
Interesting. Nice.
Just, and again, if that flows with your audience, then great, but that may not flow with everyone's.
Right.
All the tips that are given there, if there was only one way to do anything, we'd only ever do it one way.
Yeah. And I love the kind of idea of you're like indoctrinating people in your work as you lead them through. There's actually even one email in sequences that I've seen that's called the indoctrination email, where it's like, let me get to know you a little bit better, let you get to know me a little bit better, etc. And let's lead you down this path. If you've got different audiences and different markets, then you need different lead magnets and different funnels for them, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And so I like the 7 this sequence definitely because we cannot just give them the thing and then let it go want. And talk a little bit about some of your clients who are doing this work. How often are they touching people with just regular kind of content? So we've given them the 7, but then they go into the newsletter cycle and they're going to get what, once a week, once a month? How what's the average of some of your clients?
I would say newsletters are either biweekly or monthly.
Okay.
We, as consumers, we are so tired of getting constant stuff. So don't spam your people, even if they've given you permission. Don't spam them. But that's one of the reasons I love the mini membership site is that we can say, here's my newsletter. And then, oh, by the way, 2 weeks later, I've added something. And that can all be automated because the thing that when you set up the mini membership site, the content is dripped as well.
Mm,
So we've added something new. You may have 40 things, but they've only seen the first 3.
right.
So you've got constant fodder to continue to email them.
And sometimes pointing people back to the value that you've already given them. Like we have in the Wealthy Speakers School, every Sunday you kind of get a report that says, here's how you're doing, here's your progress, and here are all the sections. And
Yeah.
I've had conversations with clients who said, I didn't even know that was in there. Wait a second. It appears after our conversation. Appears I need to go back and really see what all is in there because I've missed out on some of the master's classes and some of the worksheets and some of the things that you do. Sometimes we need to sell people on what we've already given them. And that actually brings up something that I think maybe the most important thing in the listening of this podcast. When you are offering up your lead magnet from the stage, you've got to sell it. You've got
Yes.
to tell people, and probably even more than once, why they cannot live without and why they need to scan this QR code or text or do whatever it is that they're going to do to get it. I love a good QR code, by the way, because it's international. The texting, by the way, doesn't always work in Canada. So if you do work cross border, you want to think about that. But yeah, they need to sell it. We always need to really, really sell this, don't we? The lead magnet, whatever it is.
Copy is everything. So whether you're speaking it from the stage or writing it on your website, download my lead magnet is not compelling copy.
Or get my newsletter. Definitely not. We already discussed that that is outdated and nobody is going to lean in towards it because we none of us want one more newsletter in our email basket. And I also want to reiterate, I get added to I don't know how many lists every week, and I just turn around and unsubscribe. So A, you better have an unsubscribe button, and B, please don't add people to your list without their permission.
Well, number one, it's illegal.
Yes.
But number two, it's really irritating and bad for your brand.
Yes, yes, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. All right, what have we missed? What's something that we have not yet said about lead magnets? Maybe a different way of doing lead magnets, maybe something that we haven't covered yet?
Well, let's talk. There's two things I'd like to just kind of touch on. And number one is making sure you're asking the right question,
Hmm.
right? So, probably the number one most important thing to creating a lead magnet is making sure that the copy around it is right.
Okay.
So let me give you a quick example. I have a lead magnet on my site for emerging speakers,
Okay.
and it's all about helping them gain clarity. But what I called it was the number one roadblock that stops emerging speakers from being successful,
Okay.
right? If I called it clarity, nobody would care.
Yeah.
The copy is important. It can't be misleading because that actually is the number one roadblock that stops those new speakers.
Okay.
Um, 10 things that you need to make sure are functioning on your website right now
Hmm.
is another thing that I have on my website that is for more.
We haven't talked about a good checklist. I
Well,
love
that's exactly what that is.
Yes. Oh, I love a good checklist. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, checklists are awesome.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess the other thing that I wanted to just touch on is it doesn't have to be only on your website, right? There's so many places that you can use it. Yes, when you're selling from the stage, we talked about that.
Yep.
But if you create your lead magnet as a lead page on your site, well, then all of a sudden it becomes part of your regular social media. It becomes in your email signature. How many times have we forgotten that valuable piece of real estate in our email signature? It's something that when you write articles, you put it in the signature piece there. You
Beautiful.
can put it in your YouTube channel on all of in like it can be everywhere. You
Hmm.
don't have to just wait for someone to land on your website to join your list. Go out and get them. Tell them this amazing thing that you have.
That's really, really good. That's really good advice, Lauren. I appreciate that. Um, Tell everybody now, you've got a course coming up that's going to help people do what?
So we are going to help speakers build physical lead magnets. I'm going to focus on quizzes because I'll tell you, lead magnets in general, you're lucky if you get, a 2 to 3% uptake rate. The quizzes that we're building right now for our clients are getting anywhere from 10 to 20% uptake rate.
Okay.
It's the interactive part. It's the oh, look, this is fun. Or look, this is helpful.
And if it's about me, of
Yeah.
course I want to learn about myself. How smart of a communicator are you? Well, of course I want to know, like, because it's all about me, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I love this. So you're going to be running a course. What's the format of the course?
So we're going to be doing it over 4 weeks. So we'll be doing a half day for four weeks, and we're going to talk about everything. I'm bringing my copywriter in, and we're going to be doing copywriting. I'm going to bring my tech support and tech analyst in. We're going to help you figure out exactly what the right platform is for you to build it, because there's lots of different options depending on what you already have. We're going to actually physically build the quiz. We're going to write the questions, write the outcomes. And at the end, you're going to have everything you need to launch your lead magnet. And we're also going to talk about how to use it and how exactly what we just talked about. Like,
Hmm,
what's your marketing plan now? You've
that's
got a thing.
yeah.
Great. Now what?
Let's make sure you use it properly. I love that. And if people want to know more about that, do we have a URL or do we need to put it in the show notes?
We'll stick it in the show notes for you.
Okay.
And we're going to be starting we're going to be doing it live for the first few because this is beta, and then eventually we're gonna do evergreen. So we're going to be starting in the new year.
Okay, very good. Well, I just want to say thank you, Lauren Pibworth, because not only have you just been somebody that I've loved watching the work that you do, but I also appreciate you being our in-house web designer at the Wealthy Speakers School and offering up some quite affordable websites for our students who are emerging speakers. So thank you so much for uh, the genius that you bring to us in the Wealthy Speakers School. I really, really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. It is my pleasure.
And if those of you who are listening in would like to get in touch, go to Pibworth Design,
Pibworth PS is in professionalsolutions.com.
PibworthPS.com. Okay, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. For those of you listening in, I want to say thank you so much for your time today. And with that, we'll say see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now.